I wanted to talk about this. I always like seeing like which celebrities come out either kind of for or against cancel culture. Seems like more and more of them are kind of for it or definitely not against it. So this is shock SNL legend Dan Aykroyd cheers on cancel culture. This is from Christian Toto from Hollywood in Toto. Quick, name your favorite Dan Aykroyd moment. It might be his impression of Julia Child bleeding profusely all over her faux cooking set. What about his sleazy salesman hawking children's costumes, brimming with glass shards? And then here's a clip where basically he was on SNL, like trying to sell like kids' toys. Oh, it's just a bag of glass. And it's, by 2021 standards, not woke, all the things, right, that wouldn't be allowed now. Or perhaps it's his recurring gig is Elwood Blues, half of the iconic Blues Brothers alongside the late John Belushi's. Some of these comic morsels would no longer be permitted in our woke age. Certainly a Blues Brothers pitch today would be derailed as cultural appropriation, given how the blues are considered part of Black cultural experience. It turns out that the SNL alum would happily cancel himself. Aykroyd, 69, not 69, I mean, that's his age, just gave a dispiriting interview to the far left Hollywood Reporter, of course, because Ghostbusters Afterlife is coming out. And let's see what he said. Okay, there's enough range in humor. This is about cancel culture. Whoops. There's enough range in humor where you don't have to go scatological. Is that a word? I guess so. And you don't have to go pulling any divisive cards to get a laugh. There is so much in the world to comment on that is outside the realm of offensiveness. As a writer, you can go to other areas and have successful creative endeavors. Scatological, am I saying that? I've never seen this word in my whole life. Scatological humor is fun. It's easy laughs, but there is more intelligent writing that can happen if you stay away from the offensive material that should be rightly canceled for its hurtfulness. Who can be the subject of an impression today? That's an area of discussion. Can I do my James Brown imitation? He was one of my best friends. I do his voice pretty good, but maybe I shouldn't anymore. This makes me lose all respect for Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
And it's always these people that are older and have made it and have made their money, their millions, whatever. Like, they're good. Like, I don't want to hear anybody's opinion on cancel culture who's made it, who's a household name. It's like, this is not about you. It's like, it's about the people that are trying to like make their way, make a dent in comedy, make a career, make a life for themselves. And it's almost like, I can't believe a person who's done comedy even said this, like, well, you got to find the realm outside of offensiveness. Well, this is exactly the problem, because what's been considered offensive is now exploding like this huge amoeba, and you could make a case for literally anything being offensive.
You know why this is so stupid to me? Like, listen, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. It's like, comedy in and of itself is going to be offensive. Like, if you're telling jokes either about an individual or a group of people, you're like, the word joke, right? Like, the word joke within itself, it's going to lead to an offense somewhere, to something, to someone, because you're making a joke out of something, somewhere, or someone. That's why I don't understand these stupid woke comedians that say stuff like this, because it's like, how does that even make sense? Like, even if you make fun of anything, it's going to lead to an offense somewhere. So how does comedy even exist with this woke mentality when you have people like Dan Aykroyd trying to, it sounds like these like OG, if we can call them that, I don't know what you guys in your community world would comedy would call them, but like these dudes that have been around for decades, it's like, they're like the gatekeepers, and they're trying to like redefine what can be acceptable in comedy moving forward, because it's like you have these different generations, right? Like, you have generations, all the SNL, the Adam Sandlers, the Dave Chappelles that came and that have already kind of like hardcore established. And then you have people that are on their way trying to build up the ladder, the next generation of comedians. Those are the comedians that are going to get destroyed right now, I personally believe. And now they're trying to get to the next generation of comedy, right? Where they're actually listening to this garbage. Oh, you can't be offensive. So it's like, you're just not going to be funny. So all these the next generation of comedians are just going to be a bunch of woke, mindless, boring people that are probably just going to be bought and paid for, that aren't even funny. It's kind of like, what's that one, that comedian? She's on YouTube. She tried to be the first female lesbian late night. What's her name? Lily Singh.
Oh
Right?
God. Yeah, she was a huge YouTuber. They plucked her out to host a late night show. It bombed.
I think she's like the perfect example of what I'm trying to describe.
Yeah,
You know?
she was this huge success on YouTube, but it just like, ugh, she should have stayed on YouTube. Like that young people are not, her audience is not, clearly didn't follow her to late night television. And it was bad. You know what it is with these old guys? This is exactly what we saw John Leguizamo do. It's somebody with a past with maybe they do have some movies or some sketches where they're like doing some racist humor or doing some like not politically correct stuff. It's like they don't want you reaching too far back into their stuff to cancel them. It's like a preemptive cancel buffer. At the same time, like they're old, they're crusty, they haven't come of age, or their careers haven't come of age in this era of like you can make your own way, you know. Like I was never really accepted by the left, and I just sort of followed my heart, whatever, and now I'm part of, I guess, what people would consider like the new right or the alt right or whatever the fuck it is. Like I think the older you get, these old guys, they just don't know a way other than just you know, being in it, like sucking Hollywood's dick basically. And they go, oh, okay, the way to stay successful is to be saying these things and doing these things. So it's like maybe it's out of fear, right? Trying to stay relevant. Oh, this is what we're doing now, I guess I got to do this to like stay fresh and to stay hireable. And they also just don't know. And like Jim Brewer is like, maybe he's like right on the edge of that. Like maybe he had a little bit of mainstream success, but still has that fire, that spark in him that he never lost. Like, no, I'm going to do and say what I think is really funny. And he's, of course, one of the few comics, myself included, that's not going to perform anywhere that requires, you know, proof of jab papers and such. And right, these old guys don't realize like you can break away from Hollywood and find your own fan base and do what you love, and you don't have to be like a slave to them. I just don't believe that this is how they actually feel.
You know who pisses me off the most, since we're talking about like comedians, like George Lopez pisses me off. Okay. And the reason why that dude is just like a total idiot is because he got so woke and went after Trump and everything is racist in the United States of America and got on the whole white supremacy is everything train. George Lopez's career is built like some of the most successful like bits that he has that have gone super viral. I mean, I remember even the early days of YouTube and like MySpace, for all my old school people out there, like MySpace and all that stuff, was like he would do bits on stereotypes. He would rip on Mexicans and Hispanics and Asians and white people. And it was like the funniest. I thought it was funny at the time. And it's like, but I think it's so ridiculous that you have some of these comedians that have built their empires on jokes that are like pointing out stereotypes, borderline like racist type humor. But now all of a sudden, like you said, they're like putting up this buffer where, oh no, they're like these woke individuals, but they want to keep their entire empire.
Right.
It's just like
they want to have it both ways.
Yeah.
They want to like, they can't like denounce their former selves, but they want to like stay hireable, stay in Hollywood's good graces. I think kind of that's what happened to Amy Schumer. I don't know. You just, or maybe your lifestyle gets to a point where you like, you're not struggling anymore. You're not kind of like, I always say, like down here with the people, like living a real life, and you become kind of out of touch. And I think, like some people would argue that's kind of where Chappelle is, but I mean, he's also doing so well. Like he doesn't, who cares? Like he's uncancelable. He's good. Even if he were to never perform ever again, like he's good. He has his bag. Yeah. As they say. So
yeah, I just think, and we see this across the board. You see it in Disney, you see it in music, you see it in education, you see it in politics, you see it in news and media. It's just like this cultural Marxism has invaded everything and it's destroying everything. And I think the next generation of art is doomed if a lot of people don't continue to push back on this stuff. Because I mean, how is comedy offensive? I can't understand that. I can't understand how a comedian in 2021 is coming out and saying that there is comedy that's offensive. It's all offensive.
It's hypocritical because like it's just it's like, right, like BLM is like the new racism or whatever, or you know, you could argue because there's no such thing as non-offensive comedy. It's just that it's flipped. Like, who is it okay to make fun of now? Who do we consider it not offensive? It's okay to make fun of white people. It's okay to make fun of Trump supporters. It's okay to make fun of patriots. It's okay to make fun of anybody in middle America. It's okay to make fun of anybody like from the South, anybody who's religious. So, and those people, you know what I mean? Like, it's any like woke comic in LA or New York City is like, that's probably their entire set, or like all those topics I just named. And probably some like lame jokes about like wearing masks and stuff. But it's not that, it's just like we can't make fun of trans people or gays or like the protected group. So it's open season on anybody white, religious, you know, with a mom and a dad, you know, regular boring upbringing. So it's very hypocritical, and there's no way to do it. And I think once your politics or your I don't know, your message or your thing comes before what is funny, it's like you've been compromised as a comedian. Like if you're making money is more important than you being funny, then you're compromised, you know? So I don't know, I have to remember that, like, because sometimes, you know, I didn't always care about politics. I only started caring when I saw how it affected free speech and in terms of comedy. And I was like, oh, this to me is really worth fighting for and sticking my neck out for. But I do have to remember, like, some days I look at my Twitter feed and it's like, all right, I'm retweeting a lot of Elijah and Jack Posobiec, like, better throw out some jokes, you know, like just.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the thing is this is my own personal opinion. I'm not a comedian. I don't think I have the authority to speak on anything like this. This is just me as a consumer. I think that the funniest, best comedy is stuff that is true. Like, for me, like, whenever I would watch specials, whenever a comedian could get me to say that is so true, like, that's where I'm just kind of like, all right, this person knows what they're doing, because they correspond reality, because reality is funny. Like, in my opinion, reality is funny. Like, I think when comedians are just straight up telling you, like, you know, jokes about this is how Hispanics live. And I'm sitting there as a Hispanic kid, like, damn, like, yeah, that's how we grew up. And it's like funny, like you could do it across the board. And I think truth has been so attacked, obviously in education and in politics and in the media, now in comedy, that you're not even allowed to tell the truth in comedy, which I think is seriously destroying comedy big time. This is my own opinion. I don't know, but yeah.
Of course. And there was something, I think James Lindsay, well, a lot of folks were retweeting it. It was something like laughter is a tool of the far right or something like that. And I'm like doing a quick Twitter search for it. And of course, what comes up first is like, humor is a tool of the right to promote their fascist ideology.
My gosh.
Far too many on the left are too okay with laughter. Many
Absurd.
more are flat out crypto fascist with their jokes. You're either miserable or you're Nazi adjacent. It's like, are you kidding me? But if you were to tell this Gwen chick a great joke about like straight white men, she'd be like, great. So it's like, you're such a hypocrite. And you know what laughter is? It's like, I forget whatever was trending this week, like laughter is a tool of the right or something. Like, all laughter is the acknowledgement of truth, because you can't, when we've all had that laugh, like you laugh when you don't expect to, that's all it is. It's like acknowledging a shared reality. And that's exactly what like the leftist nutbags don't want. They want many separate realities.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can all laugh when a room full of people can laugh at the same stuff, like, not only is it great, it's good for your health. You know, you forget about your own problems and you let off steam, but it makes everybody realize like, oh yeah, we're more alike than we are dislike, not alike. I don't know. I'm tired, but it's a unifier. Like, comedy is a unifier. So, it's good to see people starting to see through it. It's like, oh, really? Jokes? We're coming after jokes now.
It's just so weird. Like, how can you say that laughter is the tool of the alt-right to push their fascist? So like, how does that fit in with the history of like SNL and Comedy Central? And how does that fit in with, what was the comedian's name that would pose? He would do his impersonations with presidents. Like, he would literally impersonate Obama at the White House correspondence dinner. I think he did the same thing.
Daryl Hammond?
I don't remember, but you could YouTube it. Like, how does what they are saying now fit in with that? It's, I don't get it. Like,
yeah, they have short memories, and it's just all about what applies to them. Like what, you know.
I don't get it.
It's crazy.
Stupid. It's literally stupidity. And I think we're in a bad place, Chrissy. We're in a bad place where you're not allowed to be funny anymore.
Was it Fred Armisen?
It might have been. I could just Google it, but I mean,
yeah,
YouTube, it'll pop up. Ugh. That might be him, I think.
I hate to always shit on SNL. I watched it when Kim Kardashian was hosting it. And then now, of course, her and Pete Davidson were seen canoodling at a pumpkin farm or something.
At Disneyland. I think it was Disneyland, was it? Or
something.
Some amusement
They were on
park.
a ride holding hands.
Yeah.
I just don't, even if his penis is magical, it's still attached to him. So I don't know.
I just think Pete Davidson is good at acting really stupid, and that might be funny to people. I think Jimmy Fallon does the same thing. I don't think Jimmy Fallon's funny at all. I think he's very dumb, and it bothers me. But like, I'm going to be honest. One of my favorite comedians I like Conan O'Brien a lot. And I think that, you know, a lot of what he's done is pretty original and funny. And I just even feel like there's a lot of stuff that Conan does now that I'm surprised wasn't canceled, because he makes a lot of like you could call it sexist, right? Like he makes
he's smart about his stuff. Like he's goofy. And like, I agree with you, of all the sort of like well-known late night folks, like Conan is probably the one I'm the most partial to. And not because I got his coffees every twice a week for a whole semester. I interned for him. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's my claim to fame now. But yeah, I think he is able to. I think of all the people, like, and you haven't seen anyone really coming out for him too hard. I think he's just goofy, and maybe he's not as big. Maybe they consider him a little bit more niche just because he never hosted like. But he did host late night, just not like one of the top late night shows. And he, you know, he was a writer on The Simpsons. Like, I think he just is funny in his bones, you know, and I think maybe he's surrounded himself with people with the same values. And I just feel like, like Fallon, all those guys are so compromised. Colbert. Ugh. It's like,
what's the dude in LA? Dude, the freaking most woke
Trevor
one of them
Noah?
all. Jimmy Kimmel. Kimmel.
Oh, Kimmel. Yeah.
I can't stand Kimmel, dude. Like, another example, dude, he was like a host on the Man Show, right? Comedy Central. It's like, and now all of a sudden he's crying on TV because of leftist propaganda. And he's like the woke magician for leftist comedy. It's weird to see these people, like, they're like these orators. Like, all of a sudden, like, these late night talk show hosts that were former comics that built massive careers on American culture, like anti-American woke leftist Marxist propaganda pushers. It's just weird to me. It's weird to me growing up in this generation where you saw these guys for who they were, and like now where they are, it's like, what happened to you?
Yeah, I think you get into comedy to be heard, and to feel acknowledged, to feel validated. And then with these guys, like, they're offered these big jobs, and they're like, "Ooh, my voice is even bigger now." And along the way, they just get like compromised, like that power and influence to them is more important than humor, than being funny, than telling the truth. And you throw in a lot of money, and you know, these compromises are easier to make, I guess, because you're like, "Oh, well, I have this life to support." I don't know. I don't respect it. I don't appreciate it.